It's been 30 years since John Waters made his first 8mm film for $30. In 1972, his cult classic film, Pink Flamingos, received this accolade from Variety, the show business magazine. They called it, quote, one of the most vile and stupid and repulsive films ever made. That didn't stop America's preeminent satirist from making movies stamped with his own signature depravity. His newest film, Serial Mom, stars the unlikely candidate Sam Waterston and Kathleen Turner in what some critics are ironically saying is the role of her career. John Waters joins us now to talk about the film and the evolution in his own career. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, you're not supposed to, and I've just got to get, this career thing is not going well for you.
Right.
You know,
What do you mean?
Well, you're not supposed to be a mainstream filmmaker. Pink Flamingos, I mean, Variety had some insight.
That was a great review. We used it in the ads.
I know. That showed some insight into your personality, didn't it?
Yeah, certainly.
I mean, tell me, before I show you these reviews, what has been your philosophy about making movies?
Well, I try to make myself laugh first. I'm my first test screening,
You're
my
a
first
sick man,
focus
Mr. Waters.
group.
You're
well, yes,
sick.
but sick and happy. That's a
Yes,
big difference.
And getting rich, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, sick and happy because what?
Because basically, I think maturity is figuring out what your neuroses is, learning to like it, and living with it and not being bitter.
So what's your neurosis?
Well, my neuroses is certainly, well, I'm certainly not going to share it with you.
Why not?
Well, because
this
I
is
think...
a serious television show
that's
where we
Oprah.
put people on the... That's right.
Where we go on with our dysfunctions and let
that's
the
right.
whole world see.
That's right.
And
we celebrate strength here, not dysfunction.
Yes, dysfunction has become celebrity in
Yes,
America.
it certainly has.
Yeah. And people go on and say, oh, you know, admit the most horrible things that would take me a year to admit to a psychiatrist and go on television and admit it. Certainly, Serial Mom's a little bit about that.
Did you ever imagine? I mean, you wouldn't have seen this for Pink Flamingos. Well, look at this. 2 pages here. Uproarious, killingly funny. Kathleen Turner is dynamite in a performance that keeps springing surprises. That's from Rolling Stone. I mean...
No, it's very nice.
It's at 2 pages. Kathleen Turner, Serial Mom is utterly contagious. One of the smartest films of the year, somebody else says.
Nice.
The New York Post, Serial Mom is deliriously funny.
Well, they like it.
Oh, my God. Where did you get the idea for this? A comedy about a serial murder.
Well, I've always followed true crime books, a growing genre.
You're one of America's great court TV fans, are you
Oh,
not?
certainly. Are you kidding? We don't have it in Baltimore where I live, which is the one big drawback about living
Just
there.
buy your own cable firm.
Well, I certainly think I'm not quite that mainstream.
Yeah, all right, go ahead.
But cable TV has upstaged me in a way with court TV because I used to go to trials.
Oh, you would? You'd sit in, actually.
The only
sit in.
theater I like a little better than the real thing is going to a real...
What's the fascination with murder for you? Gruesome?
Because I can't imagine doing it. And any subject that I cannot imagine doing interests me very, very much. And actually, you know, murderers do make the best friends if you can forgive their one bad night.
Or their one bad habit. What?
No, well, I'm not friendly with murderers that have made it a habit.
How many murderers do you know?
A few. I taught in prison. So
that's right.
I do have some friends that are murderers, yes.
Yeah. And what are you saying? They have this one bad night?
They have one bad night.
They're terrific people?
Yes, and I think that if you can forgive them their one night, they're incredibly good friends because most people cannot.
Yeah. How do you... Well, sure, because too many times there's a factor called recidivism.
Well, the one I believe in the opposite.
I
I taught in prison, and many of the ones I taught are out and are not back in, and are actually a really good ad for rehabilitation.
Because
I have one that's married, he's doing very well in his job and everything, and he was a person I did teach in prison.
I guess part of this is the notion that frequently murder, A, occurs in a domestic situation, and secondly, people kill people they know, and thirdly, it arises out of passion.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
in many cases.
I think that is those are the ones that probably make the best parole risks. Certainly, Serial Mom would not be a good
No, that's right. Now,
risk.
where did this idea come from for Serial Mom, to have a nice PTA mother be a serial killer?
Well, I think everybody wishes their mom had gone and hacked to pieces. This is the teacher that was unfair to them, only hacked to piece their reputation, maybe, not hacked to piece them for real. But in a movie, we can certainly have fun with it.
Was there something that caused you to want to do this? Was a particular item in a newspaper, or...
No, it was my huge collection of true crime books. I knew the genre.
Yeah.
Truman Capote started this whole genre with In Cold Blood.
Right.
Certainly, still one of the best ones ever written. And it has become now an obsession. You walk into a bookstore and you see all these little old ladies buying the books about the most hideous subjects.
Yes.
And you try to imagine that that is what relaxes them right before they go to sleep.
Now, so what's the message in Serial Mom?
Well, a message. I've never been accused of being socially redeeming.
No.
But at the same time, if anything, I'm criticizing that we make serial killers heroes. I make them heroes, too. I'm criticizing myself that we basically have turned them into the new movie stars. We're bored with movie stars. We want something more sensational. And these killers do give us that.
Why Kathleen Turner?
Can't you imagine her killing somebody?
I don't know that well. But,
well, I mean that in a good way.
But you created the movie with her in mind, did you not?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't. I'm sorry. You didn't write this thing and then say she'd be right for it.
Yes, after I wrote it, I knew that she would be right for it, but I wasn't sure what budget we would have at the time. So I never like to write something for one person now in case I can't afford them or we can't get them. But I knew as soon as that she was interested, I was so quickly on that Metroliner to get into her house in New York to basically talk her into it.
Now, what did you say to her? She was here the other day. She said you came up on the Metroliner from Baltimore, where you're from, where your parents live, where you have a house, and you live there? I mean,
yes, I certainly live
home.
there. Oh, certainly, completely. I call that home.
And you took the train up here, you went to see her. What did you say to her?
Well, first of all, I think when people maybe have heard of my other films, I don't know what they expect, but when they see me in the Flesh and Blood, I know, but basically I shook hands, I sat down, I didn't come in and start licking her furniture or something.
Well, that's a start.
Yeah. So we basically, I told her, I guess about, I forget exactly, but I think I told her about the extremes of the movie, how we were going to handle them, basically, in a comic way. That if we were going to have some scenes that might be thought of as gross, but at the same time you would laugh. Every time she murders someone, there is a laugh at the same time.
Why does she murder?
She murders because people get on her nerves. You know, she can handle the big things. This is not a dysfunctional family. Yeah. This is a functional family.
Right.
They support
Sam Waterston is the husband.
He's
and
a
she
good
is the
guy.
wife.
Ricky Lake is the daughter, and she has a son that loves gore movies. But she thinks that's so what? He runs a video shop. Good for him. But little things get on her nerves, like chewing gum.
Like wearing white tennis shoes after Labor Day.
White, not tennis shoes, any kind of white shoe is a capital offense in her mind. Yes, I agree with her.
Yeah, and there's a great scene, which we don't have here, but I love this scene because she's being tried for murder.
Yes, she's on trial, big media trial.
And she looks over there to the jury. Yeah. And she sees that somebody has on white shoes.
Patty Hearst.
Patty Hearst, who's a friend of yours.
Yes, she is. Yes,
you know,
yes.
So it's the second movie she's been in.
Yes.
And so she sees Patty Hearst, and she starts scribbling something down. And she's trying to get the lawyer who's making the opening statement.
That she's insane, right?
Yeah.
And that even though she committed these crimes, she's a good person.
White shoes.
Yeah.
You know? And obviously we know what's going to happen to that person, right? Well, because this is one of the things that tick her off.
Yeah, that really ticks her off. And Patricia Hearst's character, who's on her Serial Mom's juror, wears the shoes repeatedly, not just once. Every day she comes in with a new pair that gets worse and worse and worse. She's really asking for it.
Now, where did that idea come from? You just...
Certainly, and my mother always told my sisters you can't wear white shoes in the summer, and I agree with her. I look at people now, and I think basically I'm right-wing on that issue. It's the only issue.
No white shoes after Labor Day.
I think that really this is... Capital punishment is fair. And that's the only time I'm for capital punishment.
Gosh. We're going to see the recycling scene. Now, what's that about?
Well, it's about, this movie is a joke on what's politically correct. Right. Because I ask you to like a killer, but at the same time, someone she kills doesn't recycle, and the jury is more uptight about that than the murder. Okay,
but you also want us to somehow believe that the things that are her peeves, the things that drive her to murder, are things that we should dislike as well?
Well, not so someone should die. What I'm saying is it's a joke on, yes, I recycle, and I think you should recycle, but murder is certainly worse. But in this movie, it's not worse. Right. And she hangs out with the garbage men. They're her little friends that know she's nuts.
Serial Mom. Roll tape. Poor Mrs. Ackerman.
Well, you know, imagine, are you ever paranoid that your garbage men are saying mean stuff about what garbage you put out?
Yes.
That's the new thing. I always liked the garbage men when I was a kid. They came from another community. They knew people's secrets.
Yeah, are you worried, though, that you're going to become... Are you in pursuit of mainstream acceptance, or are you worried that with mainstream acceptance, you lose your cult?
Well, a cult. I mean, I think if I was a cult right now, I could turn to the camera and say, like, send me money, and people would send in $100 bills. That's my idea of a cult. Yeah. I think I have a great audience that's been very loyal to me, and I thank them very much. Without them, I would have never had this career. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm never upset that more people want to see my movies.
Are you
kidding?
Yeah. Reaching a wider audience is a good idea.
Well, it's easier for me to make my next movie if a wider audience comes to see that. And it's never easy for me to get the budgets to make my films.
Now, Hollywood obviously is seeing this film sometime before it it's released. They paid for it. And so, I mean, has it made a difference in terms of your acceptance, the buzz in Hollywood?
Yes, the buzz was very good on this picture.
And so they said, Waters can make a mainline film.
They knew that I could make a movie on budget, that I could deal with movie stars, even from Crybaby, my last one, that was a similar budget. I've made the last 3 movies within the Hollywood system, and they aren't that different than the independent system, except they pay you more money. At the same time, I listen to what they say. You go through the test screenings, you go all through that stuff. But any movie that has extremes in any way is harder to get through that system. They like movies that have 10 writers where you try to please everybody, and I think generally you please no one if you try to please everybody.
No committee works in this business. Are there things that you really want to explore? I mean, if you look at sort of the kinds of things you have done, if you look at the characters that have been in your films, are there things any taboos left for you?
Well, I don't think of it as taboos. I don't sit down with my pad the first day of writing and think, what can I do to offend people? What I do think I'm interested in are people's limits, especially liberals, or especially people that, and I am one, but I'm fascinated about what liberals, how far they can go.
Now, what's a limit mean, though?
What is that thin line between a joke that is in bad taste that they can laugh at, which means good bad taste, or a joke that's in bad taste that's merely offensive? And it's a very thin line.
And how do you measure it? Is it just in your gut?
It's a gut reaction, certainly, and you see it. You hope a joke works. I mean, basically, I'm asking you in this movie to like Kathleen Turner's character, even though she kills people. And I think people leave the movie in a good mood. It's a feel-good movie, which is odd considering it's about a mass murderer.
You've talked a little bit in interviews that I have seen, not on television, but print interviews or profiles of you, about a rage in America.
Certainly there's a rage.
Yeah.
Everyone has a rage. I think every person in the world has a rage, not just America. That every morning when they get up, by the time to get to work, the little things that get on your nerves is what make people go crazy. I have friends that are brilliant if there's a major, somebody calls and says, I have cancer or something, they can handle that perfectly.
They can do the big
but if
things.
they lose their keys, they're ready for a mental institution. And I understand that, and that's what the comedy in this movie is about.
Somebody who can't deal with the little things.
The little things are what make her commit murder.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the big things, certainly. And she handles herself very well once she becomes her own lawyer. And suddenly the family's life gets better in this, which only could have happened in America, because of all the press. The daughter starts dating a reporter, the son becomes a Hollywood agent, and the father becomes more liberal on his opinion of capital punishment.
Speaking of murders, what's your fascination with Charles Manson?
I don't have any fascination
with
Charles
you're not interested
Manson.
in it?
I am very interested in one of the women that was in his crime, Leslie Van Houten, which I work with a group that we believe she should be paroled, and I do believe she should be paroled. If you believe in rehabilitation. Now, if you do not believe that anybody can rehabilitate, then there's no argument.
She did the crime. No reason for discussion.
Yeah. But she's been there 23 years.
But you have no sense, you don't care about Manson.
No,
he's not an interesting character to you.
No, he's like somebody I'd move away from in a bar.
Yes.
You know, but Leslie is interesting to me. She came from a similar background.
What's a similar background?
Well, sort of middle class, and in the 60s joined the hippie culture and all that. And people forget how truly insane it was at that time. And for that crime to have happened is something that I can't understand how it happened. And I think she has paid her price, even though she admits full responsibility for it.
And who else is joining in this effort? I mean, is this
she has a very good group of support people, her family, and people that have known her for a long time.
Now that you're directing films, do you still have time to pursue, I mean, to watch the fascination you had with court TV and murder, and, I mean, do you have any...
I'm more of a snob lately about trials, you know.
Yeah. Only the good ones?
Really a good
the
one.
Menendez trial, would that have interested you?
Was a very good one, yes.
Would the Bobbitt trial have interested you?
No, not interest me.
At all?
Trash, right. Paperbacks.
That's no... Why? Why would Menendez and not Bobbitt?
The Mendez trial is certainly very interesting because I don't know what really happened anymore. I think she was a brilliant lawyer.
You don't know what happened?
Well, I think the lawyer... Yes, I know what happened, but I'm saying I think the lawyer was incredibly
brilliant. Leslie
brilliant.
Abramson or something like that?
Yes, I think she was a wonderful lawyer. She did what Clarence Darrow did for Leopold and Loeb. They didn't get the death penalty.
They tried... Well, let's stop there.
That's what she saved them.
I guess what she did is she tried the parents, didn't she?
What she did is confused the issue, which is exactly what Serial Mom does, too. She never denies she commits the crime. She makes everybody else so confused. Yeah. But she created, certainly, some kind of doubt that did work. I think she was a brilliant lawyer in the case, and it was fascinating to watch. Because when that case started, everybody thought they were going to get the gas chamber.
Yeah.
At the end, many people who watched the whole thing believe the defense.
And you?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Oh, I think they did it, certainly.
No. But you don't know whether you believe. You have some doubt about this case.
Well, no, what
as
I'm
to
saying,
whether
she
all this stuff that the Menendez brothers said, even though people like Dominic Dunn, who you probably have been reading his stuff, because you've been profiled in some of the same magazines like Vanity
And I don't
Fair.
agree with him.
You don't?
No.
Because he says they're flat out guilty.
Oh,
this
I
is all
think,
a game.
First of all, I
I'm,
feel bad judging them because I didn't watch. I wasn't there every day.
Right.
And I don't think
but
anybody.
Boy, you would have
can-
loved to have been, wouldn't you?
Well, yes, but I had to work.
Yes.
I think at the same time, though, what's the worst damning evidence against them is the tapes when they called 9/11.
Yeah, I think
someone
that's
killed my
pretty
parents, and it really sounds believable.
Yeah.
But certainly all the stuff with the abuse, no, I don't know. And I think she did a great job. That's what interests me, not their guilt or innocence. What a wonderful defense she gave them.
But she also, I mean,
And I'm against the death penalty. I don't believe anybody, no matter how horrible,
no matter how
deserves it.
vile. What's your reason?
Because obviously, as a society, we don't teach someone killing someone is wrong by then doing it. And it's incredible to put them in that bad piece of S&M furniture. I mean, I can't believe that they. I mean, I have one in my living room.
S&M furniture.
Well,
is
electric chair. Look at it.
Oh.
It is the most bizarre thing. Who thought that up?
Well, there are other ways rather than
Oh, yes,
electric
the
chair.
gas chamber.
How about the
That's-
injection? That's what they do in North
Yeah,
Carolina.
the injection. Yeah. What
Put you to
kind of
sleep.
doctor, when you take the oath, how do they get someone that's legally in there? Aren't they disbarred or whatever it's called when a doctor actually who takes an oath to save people's life to come in and give someone a needle to kill them in the name of society? I'm sorry, I don't buy it.
I read somewhere where you made a notion. You said that there's always, the part of what happens to killers is that they had a bad day. They had a bad experience.
Yeah.
And then you later said that there's always someone who's had a worse day than you.
That's why they're so popular. You may have had tough. You maybe got a parking ticket.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm tired. I've been working a lot. But we were not eaten by Jeffrey Dahmer. So we want to read about someone who had a much worse day.
Is that what it is?
I think it is. Yeah. Is that we're tired. We've had bad days. Everything's so terrible if you're not an optimist.
Now, does Jeffrey Dahmer interest you?
Certainly, yes. I mean, and his
Would
success.
you like? Suppose you could go talk to him, Jeffrey Dahmer. Would you want to?
Not especially, because I don't think he's too brilliant about what he has to say, and I understand why the crime was. I think I understand his psychological problem. He didn't want people to leave, so he ate them. That's the ultimate way they don't leave.
I don't think so.
But
I don't think that was it.
You know why?
Wait a minute. He ate them because he didn't want them to leave.
Yes, it's the ultimate. You're not leaving me. Not only are you staying here, you're dead, and I'm going to eat you. You are me now. You can never leave. But the reason he was so successful was because Silence of the Lambs had just come out, and he was the real life one.
Yeah.
He was the sequel to
Did
Silence
you
of
like
the
that
Lambs.
movie?
Yes, I liked it.
Could you have made that?
Well, I would have added more jokes. I would have a trouble.
Why does it have to have jokes?
Because
That's
humor
your
is
own
a
sense of humor.
Humor is a release to me. Yes, humor is armor.
How would you
Humor
like
is-
to? I don't know whether Jonathan Demme wants to do this, but Anthony Hopkins was here, and there's much talk about making another, not a sequel, but the continuation of, I guess, Lecter. Would you do that? Would you like to do that? Would that interest you?
No, because it's not my original idea. I like to think up my own movies, but I think Jonathan could do it wonderfully. And I think that movie could have had
Hopkins,
a sequel.
I think, is probably prepared to do it.
I think he would too, yeah, because it was left so perfectly for a sequel at the end, and he was so wonderful in the film.
Now, because of all this, is it fair to say that you are now at a point where you can write your own ticket, pretty much?
No. Well, we'll see. I don't know,
We'll see how
because the
serum
movie
moms
just
do.
opens.
Yeah.
We did
But you
very
got,
well
I mean,
the
this
first
is
2
going to
days.
do okay, we think.
You never know. I hope so.
How did it do the first 2 days?
First 2 days it did great. Yeah.
How much did it cost you to make this movie?
About $13.5 million.
And so you got to make, what, $39 million or so to...
Well, with video and foreign sales, you don't have to make that much, no. We've pre-sold it for foreign, which we did pretty well with. My films, there's bad taste is everywhere. It's universal.
So you're a big international
Well, I don't know,
commodity.
big.
You're
I'm
an
known,
international
I'm known,
commodity
yeah.
because there's bad taste everywhere.
It's a brand name of sorts for a certain
okay,
ilk in every country.
Before I go, what do you think if I say John Waters, or films by John Waters, or Pink Flamingo, and I mean, there's a whole list of them, which I don't have in front of me. What do you think the perception is of you, or has been of you?
I think it's changed. I made my first film 30 years ago. I think in the old days, they were scared that I lived in a trailer, dated transvestite, and had sex with chickens.
That's right. That was about
not
it.
so much
That was
anymore.
about it. Not so much chickens anymore, or what?
Well, no, they think today, basically, that I make weird movies in the Hollywood system.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference.
And that there is a
Both
growing...
were true.
Yeah, and that you are growing as a filmmaker.
Yes.
And that your horizon, or that your reach is broader than they might have imagined. You're not just
so.
sort of a cliche filmmaker, or
No. I think I've created my own genre, even if you hate it.
Yeah. It's interesting. Baltimore has turned out only 2 film directors that I know, you and Barry Levinson.
Yes,
right?
It's turned out a lot of other talented people. Certainly,
certainly
Ann Tyler
has.
writes great books.
Yeah, she does. Boy, how'd you like to write to make one of her movies?
Well, I think that we have certainly maybe different viewpoints. I love her novels very, very much.
How about Anne Rice?
I like to think up my own ideas. I don't want to make a movie of anybody else's ideas. I want to make the movies of my own.
Okay, what's next for you?
I don't know. I'm going to go home and think it up.
Really? You don't have a project?
I never do.
You don't have a project or an idea?
I never do. I know it's in there, but I got to go home and concentrate. I got to pull it out of the pit.
Yeah. Does politics interest you at all?
Yes, certainly, yes. I've always wanted to have sex in a voting booth.
Oh, God, John. Have you tried?
No, but I had it in a script and it got cut, but I'm going to use that scene one day. I think it would shock America the most, because who would ever think of that happening if you're in seriously voting and you hear the booth next to you rocking?
You're going to debase America's democratic
well,
experience?
I think it would perk up the voting experience is kind of dull.
You'll put a liberal Democrat probably, aren't you?
Yes, I voted for Clinton, yeah.
John, thank you. Pleasure to have you here. Good to have you. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll see you next time.